Hi everyone, and welcome to part 2 of how to use the Facebook Pixel in 2018. In part 2, we're going to talk about the lookalike audiences beyond 1%. We talked about that in part 1, and if you missed part 1, look for the link in the below the video. We're also going to talk about how the quality of the custom audience matters and how you should look after it. Otherwise, you're going to have problems that you don't want. We're also going to talk about retargeting and how to use these custom audiences. And although we've talked about retargeting a little bit, we implied really how to use retargeting. We're going to talk about it in a bit more detail now. What are the custom audiences that are really useful you can use? And it's not just Facebook anymore. So let's just jump in. We talked about how the January 2018 sales we got on Shopify were mainly the consequence of how we use the pixel. And you can see in this graph how we went from almost 0 sales in January to a total of $77,900 in sales. And this is because we are using the pixel to its best capabilities. We also talked in part 1 how the purchasing ideal process goes from a Facebook ad to the users viewing content on your website, then adding to cart, then initiating checkout, and finally purchasing the product that you're offering, and how all these events are tracked by the pixel. We also talked about custom audiences, how we need to how we also can create lookalike audiences based on custom audiences, and the minimum size of a custom audience had to be 100 people, and how we can create, if we base it on the US population, if we select 1% for the lookalike audience, that will give us 2,200,000 people that we can target that are going to have very similar characteristics to the ones that we have in our custom audience. What we're going to talk about now is how those lookalike audiences can be bigger than 1%, can be anything between 1 and 10%. And you have the choice when you create the custom audiences to create them at whatever percentage you want. But there's a catch. Now, before I talk about the catch, let's see how a 3% lookalike audience can be 6,500,000 people that you can target. So that makes it really exciting, but be aware that although audience sizes range from 1% to 10% of the total Facebook population in the country you choose, and bear in mind this is based on US population, 1% of those, when we create a lookalike audience that is 1% of that population, that audience is going to have more similar characteristics to the original custom audience than a 3%. And that is because the more people that Facebook is trying to get on our lookalike audience, the less strict it's going to become in order to find more people in terms of how those characteristics should resemble the ones from my custom audience that it's originally based on. So be aware that the higher the percentage, the less likelihood to convert those audiences are going to have. We also wanted to talk about custom audiences quality, and we talked about these 4 custom audiences in the previous video: the view content, add to cart, checkout initiated, and purchase, which are based on, like I said before, the view content, add to cart, initiate checkout, and purchase activities that happen on a website that are tracked by the pixel. Going back to this. These are based on website activities, so they're website custom audiences. So these activities happen on your website. Now you have to be aware that if you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out, and that is a very known principle in systems. And what that means is that if you're sending your family and friends to view content on your website, for instance, this audience, view content 30 days, this custom audience is not going to be very good in terms of converting, in terms of getting people to also add to cart, initiate checkout, and purchase. So when you create your lookalike audiences, you have to be aware that the website custom audience that is based on is mainly made up of your family and friends. So you're going to target people that are similar to your family and friends, and not people who are likely to view the content because they're interested in the content on your website. So be aware of the quality of your custom audiences. In order to do retargeting, we have to have these audiences created. These audiences view content, add to cart, and checkout initiated you can offer discounts or other incentives to complete their purchase because these people have not purchased in theory. What we need to bear in mind is that in order to get the people who haven't purchased that are included in the view content, add to cart, and checkout initiated audiences, we need to exclude people who purchased from this audience down here, the purchase 30 days audience. We need to exclude the people in this audience from whatever audience we're using in here to offer discounts or other incentives to complete their purchase. Because otherwise you're going to send messages saying complete your purchase with a 10% discount to people who may have already bought. And then I separate this other audience, the purchase custom audience, because we can offer similar or complementary products to people who have already bought. So we know that their intention was to buy the product that we offer. We can send them we can offer them something that is complementary or similar to that product, and that is what is called an upsell. There's other super useful custom audiences besides the website custom audiences that I mentioned before. So we have a view content audience, add to cart, checkout initiated, and purchased. And I mentioned just now that these audiences take place, the activities of these audiences take place on the website. There's also activities that take place on your Facebook page or your Instagram page, for instance, and those are engagement custom audiences because they're based on people who have some engagement with your page, have some engagement with your posts. For instance, people who have shared a post of yours, who have commented or who have liked a post of yours, and people who have watched a certain percentage of a video that you posted on Facebook or Instagram. So what you can do is you can say, people who have watched 3% of my video or 3 seconds of my video are slightly engaged, compared to people who have watched 95% of my video who are much more engaged. So you can treat those audiences accordingly. And lastly, it's not just Facebook anymore. We talk about Facebook all the time. Facebook ads are on Facebook, but Facebook ads can also be displayed on Instagram, Messenger, and Audience Network. And how does that work? You know how Facebook ads are displayed on Facebook? They're displayed on the main feed or on the side, on the right column of your target audience Facebook feed. Instagram, you can display ads on the feed, on the main feed on Instagram. Messenger is slightly different because there's no feed in there. What you have is a list of people that you engage with in conversation through Messenger, and mixed with those people in there, you also can display an ad that will basically be targeted to the people that to the same audiences that we were talking about before. And Audience Network is made up of websites and apps that Facebook either owns or has agreements with, where you can also display your ads. And guys, this is it. This is a very quick overview of website audiences, custom audiences, lookalike audiences, and how the pixel works in 2018. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions, just post them below. And I hope to see you in the next video.